How's it going, everyone? I am Dylan. This is All You Can Board. This is the Wolverine preview video, which is a couple days late because I was actually at a company retreat for my full-time job right when this article was released. There's been a running joke in our Discord and in the comments about how Fantasy Flight Games often releases these hero previews at the most inopportune times for me. I always have something going on, or I'm out of town, or I'm working a shoot that day or something. And of course, I was away out of town again, but I can't criticize them too much because I think it was the Mojo Mania one. I think there was another one that actually released at a pretty good time for me to create content. So I guess I was just due to kind of like go back to this again. But anyways, here we are. This is the Wolverine preview. My voice might be a little bit raspy with some couple of long nights at the retreat, but I think I'm getting it mostly back here. But we're going to talk about everything to do with Wolverine. It's a really exciting hero pack. It's all based around his regenerative healing, which is thematically obviously going to be tied into his recovery and healing hit points. Really cool because we haven't really seen a hero dive this heavily into it, and they found some really interesting ways to tie that in and play off of the hero's health and everything like that. So we are going to jump right in, and we're obviously going to start with the alter ego, which is Logan. Logan has a recovery of 6, and that's a huge deal because it's a very, very high recovery, and you're going to be wanting to recover your health often because you're going to be using your health as a resource in many cases. Hand size of 6, hit points of 10. The ability here is Snicked, which is set up, search your deck and discard pile for Wolverine's Claws upgrade and put it into play. So we've seen this with a few other heroes where they have sort of their signature weapon. It's either starting in play or starting in the hand, like with Cap Shield, things like that. You're getting the same thing here with Wolverine's Claws, but they are going to start in play. So before we even jump to the hero side, to better understand this, we're going to actually jump into the Wolverine's Claws upgrade and give you a sense of what is involved there. So this is a permanent card that says, hero action, exhaust Wolverine's Claws, choose an attack event in your hand, and take damage equal to its printed cost. Play that event ignoring its resource cost, and that attack gains piercing. So basically, this is a long way of saying instead of using the regular resource cost, instead of playing cards to do that, you're just playing your health. We've seen this in other games. I don't know if there's any other people that have played Hearthstone in the last couple of years. We've seen cards that have said instead of paying mana for the resource cost, use your health, and you end up exchanging and using your health as a resource. So you can kind of look at Wolverine as a hero who's going to have an additional resource in the same way that we've seen counters on cards, whatever, but that resource is going to be your health. You're going to have to constantly be asking how much health are you willing to lose to play cards, to survive again in hero form, whatever the case may be. And there's going to be obviously more ways to heal than we've expected or come to see with other heroes. You may want to deck build by including other healing cards that you may have ignored in the past because it's a bigger deal with Wolverine. He has a recovery of 6. When you go to alter ego, you can really kind of get back into your full health really quickly. Basically, if you haven't increased his max health, if you're at 10, you will always have a way to get to full health if you want when you flip to alter ego, because you can flip, heal, and on the next turn you can heal before you go back to hero form. That's 12 health. He only has 10, so you always have the option to get back to full health. And because he has this way to play attack events with his health as a resource, and his health is going to come into play in other ways, that's probably something you're going to want to do from time to time if you don't have a more efficient way to do it. So really cool upgrade here, and the fact that your attacks gain piercing as well is a huge deal. You're never going to feel like you have to have something a huge attack gets sacrificed because there happens to be a status card or whatever the case may be. So really, really cool upgrade card. Let's go back to the hero form now. This is Wolverine. Really good stat line, the same stat line we've seen on the Captain America, which is a really good hero. 2/2/2 across the board. The ability here is an important one. Healing factor response after the player phase begins, heal 2 damage. So essentially every single turn you're getting a free 2 heal on the player phase. And the fact that when you go to alter ego form, you can heal 6, I mean, that's 8 health out of your max 10 health. So you're never going to have much of an issue getting back to full health, but it is going to start to change the game a bit when you start to factor in, I'm using my health to pay for cards, I'm being maybe a little bit more lenient with my health in some ways because of how it comes into play with certain cards. It's always going to be this extra thing that you're managing, and if you take too many risks, if you make the wrong call, it could sacrifice you the game, because if you obviously take a hit that when you're at low health and it's too much for you to handle, you just lose. So it's a more of a risky resource than we've seen other heroes deal with. Like if you have just counters on a card and you don't play right, you don't necessarily lose the game. You just might have a setback. This here is a situation where you could lose the game for managing that resource poorly, which is, it's cool. It's a cool risk factor. It's kind of the same, not the same risk factor we saw, but in the same vein as something like Star-Lord, where it's the risk reward you're weighing and how much you're willing to go one way or the other. So really cool hero card. The hand size is 5. I didn't mention that, but it's pretty standard, the 6 to the 5. Nothing fancy here. Let's jump into, oh, that's Wolverine's claws again. Let's jump into Adamantium Skeleton. So this is an upgrade that costs 2. You get +4 hit points, so right away your hit points are going up to 14, and again, because you have such a high recovery, you'll be able to probably utilize that full max hit points really often. And also Wolverine gets +1 attack, and his basic attacks gain piercing. So suddenly you're a 2/3/2 hero that has 14 health and has pierce in all attacks. This is a really solid upgrade, specifically, obviously, for Wolverine because of the hit points. In other heroes, we've seen hit point increases, and it's always good, but I feel like this hero, more than anything, is going to benefit from increases to the hit points and also just in general healing because of how valuable your hit points are going to be in comparison to other heroes. So really solid card. I think games that you start with this in your hand, like many kit cards, are going to be more successful games just because you're going to have more you can do with Wolverine earlier. Awesome card. Then we've got I can't say that word. I've resigned myself to the fact that I'm going to butcher it every single time in this video. Someone create a drinking game while you watch this video and take a shot every single time I screw up the word regenerative healing. I'm just going to call it regen healing, and then none of you will have to drink. 1 cost event, action, choose, heal 4 damage from your identity, or discard each stunned and confused status card from your identity. Really, really flexible and card here for this hero specifically. I feel like in a lot of heroes, this would have been like, oh cool, this flexibility is nice and this can be a good card, but often would have been undervalued or just properly valued at not being like, a super powerful card. With Wolverine specifically, healing 4 health is a big deal. That could sometimes be the cost of a card. If that's going to end up being an attack event card or whatever that's cost 3 or whatever the case may be, suddenly it's like, you're healing back everything you lost from having used your health as a resource with the claws. Or if you're in a situation where what you want to be doing, obviously with Wolverine, is attacking, and you have stun counters on yourself, instead of wasting an attack just to get rid of it, suddenly you can just use regen healing to get rid of it and not have to worry about it. And it discards every single one, so all the confused counters as well, like everything goes. Really flexible card. I feel like this is going to get you out of a pinch when you've been locked down by certain villains or certain scenarios. And obviously, if you're not in a case where you're in a bad situation, that way you at least always get the healing to get back to max health, close to max health, so that you can do more with your health as a resource. Awesome card. Then we've got I Got Better. 4 cost upgrade, superpower, interrupt when you would be defeated by an enemy attack. Instead, set your hit point dial to 5, ready your identity, and discard this card. This is a steep cost on an upgrade. It is 4. However, this is your failsafe. This is when you're playing a hero like Wolverine, where your health is a resource and you're gonna constantly be taking risks. There's a good chance that one of those risks is going to fail and is not going to go your way. This is a card that is now going to make it so that you don't just straight up lose the game. You actually get reset back into a pretty manageable position with 5 health, and your identity is ready, so you can actually still do stuff that turn, and your only penalty is just discarding this card and the fact that you have to play it for 4 resources. So it is steep. You are going to have to find a situation where you can play this. Maybe the board state is in a good spot and you haven't drawn a hand with a bunch of stuff that you can do damage, and you say, hey, I can use this turn to set up this fail safe so that I can start being more aggressive, and if anything goes wrong, I have it in the reserve to kind of save me from that situation. I think it's going to be valuable that way, but I could also see there being games where you're just thinking, yes, I could play it, but I just keep having these opportunities to go on the offensive and to keep pushing the risk factor here, and I'm not going to waste an entire turn playing a 4-cost card. So interesting card. Obviously going to get a lot of use, but there may also be situations where you just don't have the hand to be able to facilitate playing it. All right, then we've got Berserker Barrage. This is a 2-cost event, attack event. So like I said, this can be played with Wolverine's claws for essentially 2 health instead. Hero action, deal 4 damage to an enemy. If this attack defeats an enemy, you may take 2 damage to repeat this ability. Really flexible card here. The fact that you can, for 2, do 8 damage, and then to be able to do that, you're just taking an additional 2 damage. And the fact that if you play this card originally for your health instead of its resource cost, this can be a 0 cost, 8 damage card that costs you 4 health instead. And the way it's also the way it is described here is that if this attack defeats an enemy, you may take 2 damage to repeat this ability. I believe you can do that multiple times. So if essentially you do 4 damage, it defeats an enemy, and you take 2 damage and do 4 damage, it defeats an enemy, you can do it again. You can keep repeating. So I'm saying 8 damage, so I'm thinking in my head that's probably like, you know, where the average player is going to sort of land with this. But in a situation where you have a bunch of minions out and they're all, you know, giving you a lot of trouble and have, you know, between that like 2 and 4 health, a range of hit points to deal with, suddenly you can turn this into a board clear, and you can go as far as you want as long as you're willing to take the damage to do it. And if you have ways to heal up or go to Alter Ego and heal yourself back up, it's not even that big of a deal. So really flexible card that I think is going to be used in tons of situations, especially as a board clear. I'm really excited about this one. And then we've got Slice and Dice. This is a 3-cost attack event. Make the following 2 attacks in order. Deal 3 damage to an enemy. Deal 3 damage to an enemy. I'm not sure why it has to say in order here. They are the exact same ability, you're just repeating it. So if I do the second one first or if I do the first one first, there's actually no indication which one I did first because it's the exact same. So I'm not sure if I'm missing something there, if there's a fringe case, or if this is just a little tongue-in-cheek fun from the designers. But either way, you're doing 6 damage for 3, which isn't the most efficient we've seen in the game, but obviously the flexibility here is kind of what you're extra paying for, is that you can, instead of doing just 6 damage to a single enemy and potentially having some of that damage be wasted because they only had, say, 4 health or 3 health, whatever the case may be, you can split that up and say, okay, I'm going to take out this enemy, then I'm going to take out this enemy, or reduce this enemy, or whatever the case is. So having that flexibility is really, really good. That's kind of what you're paying the extra for in this card. So it's not going to be the biggest attack card we've seen, but it is going to be one that you're able to you know, get maybe more use out of, because you're not locked into saying, oh, I got to do 6 even though I don't really want to do 6. And of course, this can be paid for with Wolverine's Claws, which makes it a better card because you can technically pay it for 0 and just use 3 health. Then we've got Lunging Strike. This is a 3-cost attack event. It says deal 8 damage to an enemy. If you exhausted Wolverine's Claws to play this card, this attack gains overkill. This card is massive. I'm already biased towards big attack cards. I love them. 3 costs to do 8 damage is super efficient, and you are very often going to want to use this with Wolverine's Claws, just because the fact that you can do 8 damage for essentially 0 and still do other stuff with your hand is so bonkers ridiculous, that the fact that they give you an extra benefit on top of this for doing that it gets overkill, is really, like we were just talking about the last card, that would have been the only downside to this card, is you want to do 8 damage, it's like, oh, I really only have to do 4 to this minion. Well, now it spills over to the villain anyways. So the fact that there's really no downside here, and you're being incentivized to play this card for free, just paying 3 health, is really, really good. There are going to be some massive turns with Wolverine here, where you have Lunging Strike in your hand, and you do 8 damage for essentially 0, taking 3 damage, and then use the rest of your 5 cards in your hand or 4 cards in your hand to deal a whole bunch of other damage that now that you have freed yourself up with your resources. So really powerful card. This is what I'm really excited to have those really massive swing turns with, that sort of are the staple of what I enjoy so much in Marvel Champions. Then we've got Track by Scent. This is a 2-cost thwart event. Superpower remove 3 threat from a scheme. If this removes the last threat from a scheme, draw 2 cards. This is a surprisingly powerful card for a hero that is so focused on attack events and thematically is all about attacking and then regenerating. I didn't expect going in that we were going to see anything strong in threat removal, or maybe even anything threat removal at all, because maybe that would be sort of the downside of the hero. The removing 3 threat for 2 isn't, you know, by any means the most efficient we've seen. However, the fact that you're going to then just target schemes to have low threat on them and be able to draw 2 cards is a huge deal, because you're going to potentially draw into cards that allow you to still do your entire, you know, normal attack turn, or, you know, all the damage you normally would do, but you also were able to take some threat off the scheme at the same time. This is going to be really good for solo play as a way to still kind of mitigate that threat and still be able to accomplish what you want with taking out the villain. So it really improves Wolverine as a solo hero, but just in general too, drawing 2 cards. I mean, you paid 2 cards for this card. So essentially you're getting those cards back, which means you just removed 3 threat with not much of a penalty. Really cool card. I'm really happy to see this kind of card in Wolverine. All right, getting into the aggression cards. This is a brand new aggression ally. This is Psylocke. 4 cost ally with 3 health, 2 thwart, 1 attack, 1 consequential damage on both of those. Psylocke enters play with 2 psionic counters on her. Interrupt when Psylocke attacks an enemy, remove 1 psionic counter from her, confuse that enemy, and deal 1 damage to it. Lots of potential here. So you're only doing 1 attack with Psylocke, so it's not like you're getting a ton of attack value for the 4 cost that you're paying for Psylocke. So efficiency-wise, that's low. However, you are always doing an extra damage because it's in the cost with the counter. So you can almost look at that as it being 2 attack for 2 of the attacks you're going to be using her for, and also confusing the enemy. And the fact is, with most allies, at least when I've used them, a lot of times you're just using the ally as much as you can to get them down to 1 health or as low health as you can, and then blocking with them. So with Psylocke here, you can kind of look at it as, you get, for 4 costs, you get to do 4 damage across those 2 attacks, confuse twice, and take a hit and block an attack that would have been coming your way anyways. So that does definitely all balance out the high cost of the ally, and especially if you've built a deck where you have ways to cheat out allies, or you get extra resources to play it more efficiently. I think Psylocke is going to be a really powerful card, and one that sees a lot of play, and having those confusion counters just helps to mitigate a lot of the stuff going on, especially when you're playing an aggression hero where maybe you're not focusing on the schemes and dealing with them as much. You're focused more on just how quickly can I get the villain's health down. The confusion is definitely going to help you mitigate some of the threat coming your way and not have to worry about it as much. So really, really cool ally. Time will tell if it's too expensive to be one of the staples or not, but I think there's a lot of power potential here. Then we've got Battle Fury. This is a 1 cost aggression upgrade. Play under any player's control, but only a max of 1 per player. Response: after your hero attacks and defeats a minion, deal 1 damage to your hero, discard Battle Fury, and ready your hero. This has a lot of potential with Wolverine, because we've seen he has a couple cards in his arsenal that specifically are of the board wipe variety, or give you a way to sort of like slice and dice, do 3 damage here, 3 damage there, that is incentivizing you to target multiple minions, or villain and a minion, whatever the case may be. So you're likely going to, you're likely going to be taking down minions fairly often, or hoping you can anyways. Battle Fury rewards you for doing that, and is essentially giving you another shot with your hero, readying your hero. And the fact that Wolverine has a reliable way to go up to 3 attack as well means that this could also mean you're doing another 3 attack on top of whatever else you already did that turn. So for a 1 cost cheap upgrade, it's pretty good. I don't know how high that power level is going to hit, but I think that in Wolverine's deck, it is definitely going to see some use. Then we've got Precision Strike. This is a 1 cost attack event. Hero action attack, deal 2 damage to an enemy. If this attack defeats that enemy, heal 2 damage from your hero. Really cool card, especially when you think in Wolverine again specifically, you can take 1 damage to play this for free, and if you defeat an enemy, you heal 2 damage back, which means essentially you gained a net plus 1 health to deal 2 damage and play a free card. So yes, it's only 2 damage, but in situations where, again, you want to pick out pesky minions, or maybe that's all you need to do to be able to flip the villain to the next stage number, or whatever the case may be, it's a free 2 damage you're doing, and you gain 1 health. So you can, in many situations, look at this as 0 cost, deal 2 damage, gain 1 health, or heal 1 health, which is a solid card for Wolverine specifically, but even in other heroes that you might be wanting to play this card with, the healing 2 damage when you're in hero form could be a huge deal and prevent you from having to go to alter ego, waste a turn going back, whatever the case may be. So cool card. I think it's stronger in Wolverine specifically. I don't know how much power level we'll see it. It'll have in other heroes, how often it'll see play, but in Wolverine specifically, I think it's gonna be a cool card to have. Then we've got, speaking of 0 cost events, we've got Mean Swing. This is a 0 cost event. Hero interrupt: when your hero makes a basic attack, exhaust a weapon upgrade on your hero gets +3 attack for this attack. This is a really cool card, and the reason I say that is obviously we're getting this in a Wolverine deck, and obviously the claws are a weapon, so you can now, instead of having to exhaust your claws to, forego pain for an attack event, if you're in a situation where you can't do that, you don't have an attack event in your hand, whatever the case may be, you can now use your claws just to boost your basic attack by 3. Maybe it was already 3 because of your Adamantium upgrade, so you're essentially getting 6 attack now, which is a huge deal. But even just the fact that Wolverine is by no means the only character with weapons. There's tons of characters that have them, and there's some that focus specifically on them. So this card also is really interesting in the fact that now it's going to exist as a way to go back and have cool aggression builds, or support already cool aggression builds with other heroes by giving them another powerful card they can use that couples with their weapons. So really cool to see. I like when we get cards that sort of reward people that play other heroes or have invested in their money and time into other packs that already exist, to now say, hey, here's another card you can use to deck build. Try out your decks with this card. I'm always a fan of that. So really cool card. Then we've got Warrior Skill. This is a 2-cost upgrade. It has 3 uses with 3 warrior counters at max 1 per player. Interrupt: when your hero attacks, remove 1 of those warrior counters from here, and that attack deals 1 additional damage. So it is just 1 additional damage each time, but you are getting 3 additional damage over the whole course of this. That obviously is for its 2 cost on the upgrade. So is it worth it? I mean, it's a good card. I don't know that I look at it and think, oh, this is a great card that I want to use in decks, or I can't wait to use this card. This is almost one of those cards that I think will end up being, I don't want to say a sleeper hit of a card, that's not what I mean, but in the sense that there will be situations where all of a sudden you're like, oh man, like this is actually better than I thought, or I'm really glad I had this card, but it's not going to be one when I'm deck building and I'm like, okay, where's Warrior Skill? I'm going to put in 3 copies of that, or 2 copies of that, or whatever. So interesting card. It's that one of the less interesting ones, though, out of the ones we've been introduced here in this preview, but still cool, obviously, to get new aggression cards and be able to play around with them. Okay, into a basic ally here, which is a pretty cool one. This is Colossus, a 4-cost ally with 3 health, 1 thwart, 3 attack, but 2 consequential damage on that. However, the ability here is reduce the cost to play Colossus by 1 if your identity has the mutant or X-Men trait. So, I mean, really, you're incentivized to play this if you're playing an X-Men or mutant. So in those situations, you can kind of just assume the cost here is 3, and at that point this card gets really good because I didn't mention it also has toughness. So essentially we're looking at a 3-cost ally with 3 health, 1 thwart, 3 attack, and toughness, which is really, really good. I think it was for that protection ally Luke Cage that's an ally that has toughness that it costs 4. Obviously, I can't remember the stat lines on that. It might have been 2/2 or something. But the fact that you're getting 3 attack here and you have toughness is a big deal because, yes, it has 2 consequential damage, but the first time you use it, you can ignore that because of the toughness. And you can use it comes to play with toughness, or you can just take a hit and then have that be completely negated. So regardless, you're going to be getting an attack in here that does 3 damage for your 3 cost. You're going to be soaking up a hit. You can either do another, soak up another hit with this card, or you can do another 3 damage. There's so much potential here for such a cheap ally that I think this is going to be one that just slots into a lot of X-Men decks just because of the efficiency on and the reliability. So really cool basic ally, and the fact that we already are seeing a slew of X-Men heroes and it doesn't seem like it's going to stop anytime soon means that there's going to be tons of decks you can play this in. Then we've got the Fastball Special. I actually had seen this mentioned when we got the Colossus hero announcement in the Mutant Genesis pack. A lot of people said, oh, I really hope that we get, with the Wolverine hero, we get a team-up card. And I think they specifically were saying, I want to see the Fastball Special. So I think it's really good. I'm not super aware of the X-Men comics. I'm aware of them, but I didn't read a lot of the X-Men comics growing up. So Fastball Special was honestly something that went right over my head. But the fact that they either heard the fans or knew what the fans would want right from the start and they included it is really cool. So this is a 1-cost event. Team up with Colossus and Wolverine. Max 1 per deck. Hero action: deal X damage to an enemy, where X is the total attack of Colossus and Wolverine. This attack gains overkill and piercing. So lots of potential with this card. Lots of stuff you can do. Obviously, you can team up with just the ally we just saw, which is awesome, or you can team up with both the heroes in play as well, and you're adding up their attack. Again, either way, Colossus 3 attack on the ally, and on hero form, I can't remember what it is on the hero form, but the hero form is obviously more flexible too, in the sense that they could be boosted. I mean, so can the ally, but regardless, there's tons of potential here, and I think that it's going to be interesting to see the builds that people come up with for, you know, two-handed solo, or, you know, multiplayer play, or even just solo play, but again, including the allies, to be able to say, you know, what can I build to really take advantage of this team up? Even if it's not the most efficient, it'll just be a really flashy turn to be able to say, here's a one-cost event where I do all this damage. So really cool card. I'm really glad that they included this. Okay, so we are getting a encounter set in this hero pack, and the minion at the center of it is Lady Deathstrike. So this is one I'm not familiar with, Lady Deathstrike. Maybe someone wants to fill me in the comments. I usually ask this, and I'm always interested to kind of hear the lore and the backstory on these characters I'm not familiar with. But this is a 1 scheme 2 attack minion with 6 health. It is elite, has quick strike as well. Force response: after Lady Deathstrike attacks and damages a character, that character's owner discards 1 random card from their hand. In Marvel Champions specifically, discarding random cards, I've always felt and experienced, is a really, really negative impact on you, like more so than other games. I played a lot of card games where they have that random discard, and it always sucks, because sometimes whether it's you have combo pieces or you've been saving a card to use, whatever, it always feels bad. But in Marvel Champions specifically, because you have the dual use on cards where that card is also a resource, even if you discard a card you weren't going to play, you now have 1 less resource to potentially do what you wanted to do with your hand. So it always has felt a little bit worse. So the fact that this is going to come into play every single time Deathstrike attacks and damages you means that this is going to be prioritized, that you need to get rid of this, because if you're taking it out multiple times, you're just being less efficient. There's less you can do with your turns. So really nasty minion here. It also has 3 boost icons as well, so nasty card all around. So that's one card out of the 6 that are going to be in this encounter set. Another one that we got here is Adamantium Upgrades. So this is an attachment that says it gives you +2 attack. I just held up 3 fingers and said +2 attack. That's +2 attack attached to an enemy without a copy of Adamantium Upgrades attached. Otherwise, this card gains Surge. Attached enemies' attacks gain Piercing, and if you want to get rid of it, you have to spend 1 of each resource type to discard this card. So nothing overly flashy here, aside from the fact that if there's already one of these attached, this card is also surging into something else. And +2 attack is obviously a nasty enough upgrade to whatever enemy it goes on to, that you're going to want to deal with this. But you still are given the option, if you have 1 resource of each type, you can get this discarded. So if it's really, really threatening you and really putting you in a bind, you do have this way to get rid of it. It's not doesn't feel good to pay 1 resource of each type, but it's not one of those things that's just staying on the enemy until it's defeated. So, an annoying card, but I wouldn't say it's the nastiest upgrade by any means that we've seen. And the last one we got here is Hack and Slash. This is a treachery that says, when revealed, to discard 1 random card from your hand and take damage equal to the number of printed resources on it. The boost ability here is discard 1 random card from your hand and take damage equal to the number of printed resources on it. So one way or another, Hack and Slash is happening. You are discarding a random card and you're taking damage. So everything I just said about discarding random cards in Marvel Champions and how annoying it is still stands. That makes this a very annoying card. But imagine now you also have to take damage for discarding that card. What if you discard one of your 4-cost allies, and so you're now discarding an ally you maybe wanted to play, and you're taking 4 damage? Lots of nasty potential here. This card sucks in the best way possible. I love really nasty treachery cards. It makes the game tougher, but this is one that I know is going to come out in a moment where I'm like, I have everything under control, and then bam, suddenly I don't. So really nasty treachery card, a cool way to wind this down here. That is everything we had revealed. That is Wolverine. I know this is an anticipated pack, and this is also one of the characters everyone knew 100% we were going to get as a hero pack. In many ways, again, I'm going to make this comparison. Someone's going to be like, I can't believe you made that comparison. But this kind of feels like the Captain America of the X-Men line. When the game first came out, and I wasn't even playing when it first came out, but I think it was the first hero pack we got after the initial core set, or one of them anyways, was Captain America. And it's one of those inevitable hero packs that even if they hadn't been announced yet, it was like, okay, well, we are getting Captain America. When is it going to be? And it's going to be a big hero pack that they know is going to get a lot of attention, a lot of play. In many ways, Wolverine was that for the X-Men line. It has the same stat line as Captain America as well. Has the same kind of thing with Cap's shield. This one's Wolverine's claws. One's in play, one's in your hand. So there's lots of similarities there. But either way, we knew this was coming. It definitely lives up to the hype for me. And I really like that they played on to the regenerative aspect of Wolverine really, really well. With even just the recovery on your alter ego being higher than normal, and being able to use your health as a resource is really, really cool. So awesome pack. I cannot wait to play Wolverine. This might be one of this is definitely is the one I'm so far most excited to play out of the X-Men line, even just for the sole factor that it's the one that I know best out of the X-Men heroes, because I wasn't, you know, an avid reader of the X-Men comics. I mean, Andy's Canadian, so I'm a little bit biased, but either way, really cool hero pack. Let me know in the comments what you think of Wolverine. Did this live up to the hype for you? Is there anything that you haven't seen yet that you're really hoping to see with this pack, that you're hoping gets revealed, or, you know, you'd be sad if it doesn't end up in this pack? Let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear them. Thank you for having some patience and putting up with this being a little bit later than normal. Like I said, I was on my retreat. Hopefully next time that there's a preview, or even when the next packs come out, I'm available and I can get these out nice and speedy, as everyone's come to expect from me on this channel. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.